what are some of the things that you found kind of flip the light switch on for people? Because I agree with you. Like sometimes I have a friend who has not cared about it the whole time I've been doing epic gardening, right? All of a sudden, 2 or 3 life things change. In this particular case, it was bought a home, had a kid, the combo, right? And all of a sudden blowing up the text. Like, hey, what's going on with this? What's going on? And I'm like, oh, here you are, you know?
Now you enjoy it. I think a lot of people, there are life events that make you change and want to do it. I found a lot of people saw someone else doing it or tasted something someone else grew and thought, this is delicious. Because I really feel like when you try something that's homegrown, there's just such an actual just experience, I think, that's different than if you buy the tomato from the store versus the one you grew at home. That people are like, can I do this? And I think it's really scary at first because it seems overwhelming. Because you see people with these huge gardens and doing so many things that I think it seems overwhelming, but you're like, you know what, I'm going to do this. And you're never too old to start. I think, I've done so many different random things in my life. Yeah. It's like, I waited till I'm not saying I'm old. I waited till I was in my 30s to start something completely different and completely change my career, my life. You can do that at any time.
You're a triple threat now, right? The nurse, the designer, and the farmer.
I don't know what that means.
You've done 3 different things, So if anyone, I'm trying to imagine like some very specific scenario where like all 3 skills somehow come into play at one time.
Someday it will happen. Yeah, it's going to happen.
The call will come in, But no, I think that's most definitely true. So just out of curiosity, like what was on the property when you started?
Yeah, so on the property, there was a well, which was amazing.
Nice.
That was kind of one of our criteria when we were looking for a layout. It's, can we find somewhere that has a well and that it's good water? So once we tested it, we were like, yay. So we had a well and there was a barn and a septic tank. So that's it. No other
basic infrastructure.
Things. Yeah. Yes. And so to kind of plan, where a garden goes, it was overwhelming. You got to really know, where does the light hit? How much sunlight is there per day for the area you're thinking you might want to put your garden in? So there was just all these things that we kind of had to think about and look into, but we were wanting to like dream big, all right, if we're going to be here, a while, and let's say money was no object, what would we do? And so we started just planning, and our priority at first was put in fruit trees. We felt like those take the longest to really get established, to start producing and all those things. And so before we really did anything else, we put in fruit trees and then kind of continued in motion. But yeah.
How many acres or square footage are you growing on right now, property-wise?
So now we've got like 26 raised beds in a space. So I'm probably the worst at answering. My husband could probably tell you exact square footage, but 26 to 30 raised beds is the space we have, and I don't recommend that.
I like that. I like that honesty right there.
Yeah. I feel like, as you're planning, we thought, okay, we found the spot, right, for the garden. And it was like, let's, put in the garden beds. Let's start doing this. They're like 12 by 4 beds. They're long beds.
Yeah.
And, we were like, let's do it. Let's put it all in. Well, now you're, left with this gigantic space that I didn't really know exactly what I was going to do. So, having a plan is good and dreaming it out is good, but there's ways to go around it. What did you start with?
I started with so we're on 13,000 square feet. The house is like 1,000, and then there's like driveway and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I would say plantable space theoretically would have been like, I don't know, 11 of the 13, but it was all just bare, right? And so, when I first got there, I was like, okay, I don't have it was a flipped home. So it was like cleaned up, but it wasn't anywhere near what it probably needed to be. So to me, I dreamt very big. I was like, okay, blank canvas. What could I put on here? I want a shed. I want a chicken coop. I want solar on the roof that goes, I want all my appliances ideally to be electric. I would like to have a water feature at some point in time. I definitely want an orchard. Like that was one of the first things I put in, because obviously it takes a while for those to grow. But I will say, I think I did okay job planning. I wouldn't give myself an A plus or an A. I'd probably say C plus to B minus because some of the choices are really obvious. Like the garden shed goes next to the fence line, somewhat close to the home. Like that kind of made sense to me. And so I could kind of put one little puzzle piece down and then like build around and off of that. But what ended up happening with a lot of the stuff we did is I had to run, rainwater capture piping or electrical lines or, lighting lines through projects that I had already built. So I had to sort of unbuild them and then rebuild them or whatever. I don't know if you ran into any of that, but I certainly did.
So that's actually one of the main things I would say when you're dreaming big and planning, it's so important. Where will your water lines and your electrical lines go? Or if you're doing rainwater, all those things. I think we didn't dream big enough. We didn't plan enough. And so we started putting things in the pathway of where we needed to do lines. And it was quite a nightmare, actually, later on, trying to, first of all, make sure we didn't cut electrical lines while we were putting in structures. Yeah. And it just made it harder. And so that's why I'm such an advocate of, make sure you try to plan and have phases on how you will do things.
Yeah.
Because it'll just help you so much save time and money, because these things cost money. And then you're like, oh no, I have to, like you said, rip that up. It costs, money to redo it.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you nick a pipe or electrical line, I mean, a pipe, maybe not such a big deal. Depends on the type of pipe, but electric, that could just be straight up dangerous. I mean, for us, or for me, what happened is when I moved in, there was, I believe, 7 types of fencing on the property based on, whether it was in my property or on the borders or in the front or the back, whatever. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to get a new fence put in that's like modular. It's called slip fence. You can, you put the posts in, nice aluminum posts, and then you can like slide in boards. So if you don't have to like rebuild the fence. If a board goes bad, you can pull them all out, flop it back in. So I was like, okay, I'm so smart. Like we have the whole property line done now. And, the fence had a gate between the front and the backyard. Lo and behold, the chicken coop was not installed yet. The greenhouse was not installed yet, nor was the pond. And the pond required like construction equipment to dig it out. And so we had to deconstruct the fence to at least part of it. And even then, one of the guys installing the pond smacked the fence.
Of course.
So it still broke the gate, even though I moved the gate. And so I was like, okay, I definitely could have avoided that. And I was telling Jacques earlier this week, I was like, man, not that I plan to sell the home, but I almost feel like I can't to some degree because whatever this person would be inheriting, I'd be like, oh yeah, actually right here, there is 7 pipes for irrigation. But then over that, there's a line running for the rainwater. And then next to that, there's like lighting for outdoors, and they're probably just going to be like, bro, I'm just going to buy the house next door. I don't care about this.
I can't do this.
Yeah, I don't need it. So I will, the only thing I'll say about planning, curious what you think, is like, I do think I couldn't have planned it all out from the start because I didn't know what was coming to some degree, like growing in the space sort of showed me options and ideas. I think I could have planned a little better for sure. But if I try to do it like from 0 to 100, like set in stone when I first bought the property, I think it would have turned out maybe even worse. I'm not sure.
Watch the full episode right here and subscribe for more new episodes every single week.